This is Maria. Welcome back to my Earth Friendly Kitchen. Today I'm going to be making a bean salad, actually two different bean salads from a lot of the same ingredients or similar ingredients. So I just wanted to do them at the same time. I'm making these for actually the sides to a barbecue that my husband and I are going to later on today for our friends. It's summer, everyone's barbecuing. So I like to make really fresh sides and that are kind of low maintenance, especially if I'm doing it the day of. So I'm just going to make one chickpea salad, which is garbanzo beans, essentially, salad with a bunch of just Mediterranean flavors like Kalamata olives, cucumbers, feta cheese. And then I'm also making a 3-bean salad, which is a little bit more simple. It's just basically cucumber, dill, and a little bit of red onion. And then that's it. And then I'll season it up and show you guys how to make it. So to start off, I usually like to just prep everything I can so that when I throw everything in, it's ready. So I have this discard bag here that I always use, and I throw it in my freezer. If you look at the previous video, you'll see how I use this discard later to make vegetable broth. That's just homemade, and I can use that in a variety of dishes that I make, with that require broth or, some kind of stock. I have been vegan for many years, about me, and my husband is not, but I am now a pescatarian, but I still eat mostly plant-based. So I do a lot of things with vegetable stock, even if they may call for like beef stock or chicken stock, and that's just an easy way for me to do it, and also saves money by making it myself because I've already spent the money on the vegetables and I'm just making an extra dish from it, or a few extra dishes. So just finely chopping some celery, just 2 sticks of celery for now for one of the dishes. And then the cucumber we're going to use for both dishes. So cucumbers are actually a super mild flavor, and you don't typically find them in vegetable broth. So I'm going to actually put these in my composter. I have a composter over here that I just got. It's called a Lomi. I'll do a short video on that at some point, reviewing it. I love it so far. I did get it off Facebook Marketplace because it's a little bit expensive to have, but I got it for a good price from somebody who's trying to get rid of it. And so I put that kind of stuff and non-vegetable stuff, or like fruit peels and things like that, more in my composter than I do in there. But I will do like the skins in the composter as well. I don't do the seeds because they tend to be surrounded by a little bit more higher of the water content, and per the manufacturer's guidelines, it's not recommended to put a lot of high water content things in the composter. So I'm just kind of cutting the skin. Now you can cut the skin off using a peeler as well. I just find it to be much quicker for whatever reason with my knife, but I've also been doing this for a while. And if there's some skin in there, it's not such a big deal. It just adds color, no big deal. Some people just don't like it, so I tend to remove it for people's preference. And so I'm going to do both halves, and I just kind of always cut my cucumbers to make it as easy and low maintenance as possible, because so I cut them in half just because they're easier to handle that way. And I cut all the seeds out from the center, and then I just run my knife along the rind and remove the flesh. Obviously watch your fingers when you're doing this. This is why I think some people might prefer to use a peeler. If you're more comfortable that way, that's totally fine. I love cucumbers in the summertime. They're super fresh. Again, they have a really high water content, so they're great for rehydration. People drink a lot of cucumber water. I know my husband and I have done sometimes just for a little added flavor, because we're not big like soda drinkers and things like that, where we tend to have just like add cucumber and lemon into some water, and we let that sit for a day or so, and then it's just so delicious and refreshing. Something we really enjoy doing. So again, I'm just cutting these into sticks, kind of the whole things. I make it as you know, thin as I can. Because it's a bean salad, it's fairly small. You don't really want big chunks of vegetables or, you know, anything in the salad itself, just because it's, you know, texture wise, you want things to be pretty consistent with that. So cucumbers, again, we're just going to go through and kind of dice it along the same size as the celery. Everything will be about the same size. Oh. And I recently have started with this, I recently acquired, I should say, this cutting board, which is a wooden cutting board, and I love it. I was always so used to using like silicone boards or microfiber boards because that's was on sale or whatever I got that from. And they always were slipping and sliding and everything. But this wooden board, let me tell you, if you can get one, get one. It is ideal. So I'm going to put those off to the side, and then I'm going to do my onions. So one recipe, the chickpea salad, calls for shallots, and the which is just in the onion family. It's not, you know, it just has a little bit milder flavor. So when you eat them raw, they tend to be less harsh on the palate. So I had this left over. If you don't have an onion saver, this thing is amazing. Again, it's pretty low cost. It's like $2 or $3. I got it at the grocery store. I think it was like one of those extra things that you see hanging on the rack. It just closes like this. It kind of punches out here. I save avocados in this, onions, oranges, lemons, whatever it is, if it's in there, but mostly onions, because it's just, it also doesn't smell up your refrigerator. So that's, you know, good. Again, I'm just kind of cutting this in half to lay them flat so that I can make nice long dices here, because, you know, onions are round. So you don't want them slipping and sliding all over your board. Make sure when you're cutting, your fingers are tucked in, especially when you're making very small dices, because fingers can get caught a lot. And then I'm just going the opposite direction to make, again, just very small, fine dice. Onions, you always want to be a little bit smaller than other vegetables when you have them in a dish, because, you know, nobody wants a big chunk of onion when they bite into something, especially when it's raw. And then I just run my knife through it again. So that was about a half of a shallot, a decent sized shallot. If you have a smaller one that's whole, use that, you know, just the same. And then the other salad is going to take a half of a red onion. So I cut them in half. I leave the, like when I cut them, I leave the hairy end actually together, or on one side each, because this actually helps save your onion a little bit better than if you cut it the other way, where one side had the hairy part and one side had the base. So, and then again, just put it here. It covers just like that, and this will go in my fridge and it'll keep for a long time. Put the peels in my discard bag, cut off the ends into that bag. You peel the outside of the onion to get away all that, to get into the good flesh. Again, things that you would normally throw away. You know, one of the things that has brought me to start this channel is the fact that we waste so much food in this country, well, really across the world. You know, we actually waste about 90 billion tons of food every year, which is a astonishing statistic to me, especially when, at least in America, 1 in 5 people go to bed with food insecurity every single day. Which, food insecurity, if you're not familiar with the term, basically just means they're not sure where their next meal is coming from, or they may not have even had dinner. that day. And so the fact that we're wasting so much food tells me that it's not an abundance issue, it's an access issue, right? So I try to do my part. My husband and I are very ego conscious in that, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to start this channel, is to help other people just learn how to be conscious as well. And by reusing your own waste, you actually decrease the need for extra food, and that tells the manufacturers and the stores that are ordering all these foods that they don't need that much, and so they will order less, and then they won't be throwing away as much food, because the grocery stores are unfortunately the biggest problem when it comes to food waste, because a lot of the stuff doesn't get sold by the best by date or the sell by dates, which is required by the Food and Drug Administration and the USDA. So, you know, we do our part as much as we can. So now I'm just cutting up some baby tomatoes. You can use any kind of cherry tomato that you like. These are multicolored. I love them in the summer. They're so fresh. They also happen to be on sale. So, you know, that always helps when everything is on sale. But you can use just plain red, you know, cherry tomatoes or not. But I just love the vibrancy that these multicolored cherry tomatoes do. I'm going to do about half of them for the salad. And then the last thing I always do whenever I'm prepping vegetables per se is herbs. The reason why I cut them up last is because when you cut them up first, they tend to go all over your board. You know, whatever cutting board you're using, you know, they tend to be very difficult to get off your knife. They tend to, you know, be blown about, or I don't know, maybe it's just me, maybe I'm just messy. But they, you know, I like to do them last just because that way I'm not making a mess of my board before I even start cutting the main vegetables, basically. And this is it. This is the color. And I love just looking at this. This is just so fresh. It really reminds me of summer. Just the vibrancy of the colors and everything. And then we'll get started on everything else. So the first salad I will do is the 3-bean salad. It's the easiest one to do. I'm going to use northern beans or the white beans, pinto beans, and light red kidney beans. And so again, it's just any 3 beans you want to use. I use these just because they the colors look really great as well. And I just got the store brand, whatever, you know, was cheapest. You know, it's $1 a can or so. And you want to rinse and drain, or I'm sorry, drain and rinse your beans. Luckily, these have, I'm using a strainer here, so I'm not just pouring them into my sink. That you want to rinse them because they're full of salt and preservatives. And this is on purpose, right? This is intentional to make them sustainable. I always just do a nice little quick rinse in the bottom of the can to get the last kind of beans out. And lucky for me, these are pull tops, so you don't have to see me struggling with the can opener right now. But I'm just going to put all 3 beans in the strainer, and I'm just going to kind of rinse them all out really well. That looks good. Pretty much until it runs clear into your sink. And then I'm going to bring this over and drip water all over my floor. I'm going to put this actually just right in the container that I'm bringing for the party, because why dirty another bowl? I mean, honestly, right? And then the next one we'll do is we'll do the chickpeas next. And that'll be the next salad. So same thing, just dump it out. Now you can actually save the chickpea water. I do sometimes. It just depends on the day or if I plan on making something. The chickpea water is actually something called aquafaba, which is used for a variety of things. You could use it as a thickener. You can make vegan meringues from them. I might do that one day for you. I'll show you how to do that. But it's really, aquafaba is just, you know, also very high in protein and nutrition because it comes from basically just the juice of the chickpeas. when you cook them down. I do like to cook my own chickpeas a lot of times. I make homemade hummus. I'll do a video on that, I'm sure. But today I'm just, again, kind of last minute making this bean salad for a barbecue. So I just wanted to get the cans, which is just as fine. They still have good nutrients. There's still all that protein, all that fiber in these beans. It's just, you know, I just like things a little bit fresher, and sometimes it's cheaper to do it that way from scratch because you get more for your money in that way. And I'll do a video on that as well at some point. So I'm just going to actually cut these cucumbers in half as far as the amount goes, and I'm going to put half in one bowl and half in the other bowl. And the 3-bean salad also gets the red onions, and if you have like one of those flat things, it's probably better than using your knife to scrape things, just, you know, less risk of cutting yourself. But, you know, I've been doing this a little while. So I have this space now. So we have the 3 beans in there. Again, it's white beans, pinto beans, kidney beans, about half of a cucumber diced, a half of a red onion diced, and it was about 2 or 3 stems of fresh dill. Now you could also use dry dill. If you don't have fresh dill, that's fine. I'm actually going to add some little bit of parsley, probably just about a quarter of a teaspoon or so. That looks about right. You'll notice in a lot of my stuff I don't measure a whole lot. I do measure sometimes. It's important, sometimes it's not. I'm gonna do about a half a teaspoon of garlic powder and about a half a teaspoon of onion powder, and then I'm gonna do just kind of a shake of some coarse kosher salt. Say that 5 times fast. Coarse kosher salt. The reason I've said it in other videos that I like the coarse kosher salt is because it's actually less salty than the fine salt that you would use in other, table salt, for instance, things like that. I'm just going to add a spritz of red wine vinegar, about 2 to 3 tablespoons or so. And then I'm going to use about a tablespoon of olive oil just to kind of bind everything together. I'm just going to mix and throw things, apparently. Okay. And just give that a really good stir. As things sit in the vinegar and the oil, even for an hour after making this, if you want to make, when you're making this for a party, you can do this the day before, 2 days before. Beans tend to start to get a little smelly if you do this more than 48 to 72 hours ahead of time. You can do this ahead of time, or you can do it an hour before, but even an hour before, the vinegar and the salt will actually start to break down some of the natural juices of the onions and the cucumbers and just increase the flavor and boost that in there. So I like to get a good bite to taste everything all at once. A little bit of onion dill. Perfect. Okay, that's one. And then the chickpea salad gets everything else. So we're just going to dump this in. Celery goes in. This was about 2 stalks of celery. Again, it was about half of a shallot, which is in the onion family. And honestly, if you don't have shallots and you just have onions, use regular onions. It'll be just the same. Just use a little bit less because the regular onions are just a little bit higher potency. That's all. We're going to do the tomatoes. Oh, I do have these Kalamata olives that I got. You can get any that you have. I just happen to get the ones that are already halved. And I'm going to do about a half a cup or so. Well, that looks good. I'm just going to kind of rough chop these a little bit more because Again, some people don't like big chunks. The only thing that's kind of big in this is the tomatoes, but those will also break down because we're also going to add a little bit of the red wine vinegar and olive oil. So we'll just do that. Throw that in. Okay. And then capers. So capers are just delicious. They're in the olive family. They have a lot of delicious brininess and saltiness to them. So you don't want to use a whole lot because it'll actually overpower everything else, but I just love it. It'll actually help with the salt content and just kind of adds a little bit more of that extra, I don't know, pizzazz, umami, if you will. Excuse me. So, that's that. And then we'll just add, again, a little bit more olive oil, red wine vinegar, about 2 tablespoons each, and give this a mix. Okay, mix it all up. Obviously, when I make things for other people, even really when I do it at home, just because I'm so used to doing it, when I'm tasting things, I never put my spoon back in because germs. I am a nurse practitioner by trade. I'm not sure if you guys know that or not yet, but that's, you know, something about me. And so I do have that tendency to be conscious of those things. All right, so just going to take a nice little bite here. You don't even need to add salt to this because the capers just bring that really brininess, and the Kalamata olives just really elevate it. And then, even more so, feta cheese. And I'm going to do about, I'll just do that, about 3/4 cup. And that'll stay on top. I'm not going to mix that in because the cheese will then get a little bit more wet. When I get there, I'll mix it all in together, and that'll help. But the cheese itself will have a little bit extra saltiness. So no added salt in this dish than what's already present in the natural form. So those are my 2 very quick, delicious bean salads that I'm bringing with me to a barbecue. They're low budget, and actually for both of these salads combined, it was anywhere between $10 to $15 to make. And that's for every ingredient that you see that we used in the dish. And so $10 to $15 to make 2 sides that'll be shared for a lot of people. So I hope that you'll make this one day for your summer fresh sides at any barbecue, or even a nice fresh dinner if you're grilling, you know, just for dinner a weeknight. Very easy, very simple, and I hope you enjoy it. So if you want more recipes like this and more low waste food hacks, like the video and subscribe to my channel, and so you can follow along our journey. Thanks for joining me in my Earth Friendly Kitchen. See you later.